In the late 80s and early 90s, one name was king of the arcade, Konami. And if you saw their logo, you knew you were probably in for a good time. In 1990, Konami took one of the greatest sci-fi action films of all time and brought it into the arcade. What's up, Colonial Marines? Welcome back to another episode of Arcade Economy. On this show, we take a look at old arcade classics and determine just how much it would have cost to beat them during the time of their release. In my last episode, we took a look at the 1983 interactive film game Dragon's Lair. Today, we'll be heading to Hadley's Hope to relive Aliens in its arcade form. Just how many quarters would it have taken to survive this ultimate bug hunt? Lock and load, because we're going to find out.
Aliens.
In the 1980s, Konami was a force to be reckoned with when it came to the arcade. The success of 1987's Contra literally changed the game for run-and-gun shooters. Konami was also on the brink of discovering a magic formula. Find a hot American property, turn it into a gorgeous and action-packed arcade cabinet, and just watch the players line up. Their first big swing at this, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, achieved phenomenal success, going far beyond what they had accomplished with their previous titles. So to follow this up, Konami sought out the license for, well, a property that they had already paid extensive tribute to in Contra. I'm talking, of course, about Aliens. So, when Konami officially got the rights to the movie, they handed the project to director Satoru Okamoto, who cleverly used some of the groundwork and assets from Contra as a jumping-off point for the new game. Konami aimed high, hoping to get Sigourney Weaver and Michael Biehn to reprise their roles as Ripley and Hicks, but unfortunately, Hollywood-level talent comes with a Hollywood-level price tag, and Konami just wasn't willing to shell out that much. This led to the creation of two generic versions of the characters. Also, the arcade flyer for this features some of the most budget-value versions of Ripley, Newt, and the alien. I don't know what it is about this, but this image is just hilarious to me. I love it because of how horrendously bad it is. So kudos to the marketing department here. Aliens stormed into the arcades in early 1990 and was met with positive reviews. It was a good, successful game, but it wasn't a monster hit. In the royal court of Konami licensed games, it was more of a respected duke, while Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the undisputed king, and future titles like The Simpsons and X-Men were waiting in the wings. The Alien franchise would appear in the arcades 4 more times, with 1993's Sega rail shooter Alien 3: The Gun, 1994's Capcom beat-em-up Alien vs. Predator, and 2 more rail shooters by Raw Thrills, 2006's Alien Extermination, and its sequel, 2014's Aliens Armageddon. And although the 1990 Konami Aliens arcade game would never go on to receive any ports to console, the Alien franchise would go on to be hugely successful in console gaming for years to come, releasing some games to critical praise, some notoriously bad games, and some underrated gems that raised the bar for gaming's future. If you couldn't have guessed, the game is a loose retelling of the events from the 1986 film Aliens. Konami went ahead and made some, let's call them convenient alterations for the arcade format, which I'll get into, but anyone familiar with the movie knows a little bit of what to expect. The plot kicks off with the Weyland-Yutani Corporation losing contact with a remote colony, Hadley's Hope, on the moon of LV-426. It's up to the Colonial Marines of the USS Sulaco to go and check things out. Upon arrival, they find the colony disturbingly silent. A quick search reveals that the entire facility had been overrun by an alien parasite known as Xenomorphs. The Hadley's Hope population had been completely wiped out, or worse, turned into unwilling incubators for a new wave of acid-blooded nightmares. Aliens is one of my favorite science fiction movies of all time. I actually think it's one of the best science fiction movies of all time. I remember when I was younger, I really wanted to watch Aliens, and my dad wouldn't let me because I was too young. And when I did finally get to see the movie, it was just everything I was expecting and hoping for and more. And to this day, it's a movie I'll just never get tired of. It's almost perfect from start to finish. It's just so great. So this is a game that I was really looking forward to covering. The game can be played by 1 or 2 players, and you'll start off as Ripley if playing the first player, or Hicks if playing the second. The game is a run and gun with both players sharing both the same moveset, so neither character has any unique abilities. The game also has a hint of beat-em-up mechanics, as players can move up and down on the Y-axis throughout each level. Players can also shoot normally or crouch shoot to deal with some of the lower crawling enemies. You'll start off equipped with a smart gun rifle, but Konami generously sprinkles in weapon upgrades like 3-way lasers, missile launchers, and a gloriously satisfying flamethrower. For crowd control, you can pick up and throw powerful bombs by pressing both shoot and crouch shoot at the same time. Some levels feature the franchise's iconic Power Loader exoskeleton suit. It's a one-time power-up that switches to a strictly melee mode, but in turn greatly enhances your attacks. Konami did a fantastic job keeping the action fresh in the enemy variety by throwing the entire Xenomorph lifecycle at you. You've got facehuggers, chestbusters, drones, and of course the Alien Queen. Konami also took some creative liberties and started dipping into their own supply of nightmare fuel, creating custom aliens for the game. Some of them fly, some of them shoot lasers, and some are just weird, lanky things that look like they got lost on their way to a different game. They even created Infectoids, which are essentially zombies that hurl chestbusters at you, an enemy that made its return later in Capcom's Alien vs. Predator arcade game. To break up the gameplay between levels, the player enters a driving sequence where they hop atop an APC, Armored Personal Carrier, and must shoot incoming aliens where it travels at full speed, adding a more traditional shoot-'em-up element to the game. Honestly, the APC levels I probably could do without. Sure, it breaks up the game a little bit, but it's not something that's really necessary in the game, and it kind of just feels like filler. In fact, these levels were taken out in the Japanese version of the game. Some levels, like the factory, even have sections where you need to crouch and crawl through the ventilation. When this happens, a movement tracker pops up on top of the screen, which can help you identify how close aliens hidden in the ventilation are from you. A great callback to both the first two films.
That's right outside the door. Hicks, Vasquez, get back!
Aside from removing the APC levels, the Japanese version of the game also toned down the difficulty, having enemies take fewer hits and power-ups appearing more frequently. It also featured darker colored enemies, making them a little bit more movie accurate. There are a total of 7 bosses in the game, and despite doing my best to search for the names of these bosses online, I have not been able to find them anywhere, so I'm going to do my best to make them up. The first boss actually looks more like something out of the movie The Thing, so I guess we'll just call him The Thing. It's a xenomorph with a long swinging neck. It's not too hard to beat, just keep your distance. In its second form, it'll lose its head and then start shooting orbs that look like viruses at you. Again, they're pretty easy to dodge, so just keep your distance and you'll be fine. The next boss can turn into a ball and roll around. Between rolls, it'll maliciously laugh at you while firing slow white balls of, static? Smoke? It's not really clear what this is. I tried to get into a corner when it was in ball form and then unloaded on it when it came up to laugh. Just make sure you sidestep the projectiles. I have no idea what this next boss is, but you can clearly see the Contra influence, so let's just call it the Contra boss. You'll need to steer clear of its swinging arms while shooting at its head, and also dodge what I think are eggs that it vomits up at you. The fourth boss is a giant tick-looking alien that has spinning orbs around it. The orbs are a little hard to dodge, but do your best here. I mistakenly used crouch shoot a lot here, but I think regular shoot would have gotten the job done quicker. The fifth boss is a pair of electro aliens. They'll stare, glaring at each other before running very fast to the opposite side of the screen. They also may charge up and create an electric blast between the two of them. This boss just requires patience as you hit your shots when they aren't running or shocking. Once you kill one of them, the second one becomes a lot easier. When there is one left, it'll surround itself with electric orbs, so just keep your distance and do your best to just unload while it's standing still. The next boss is the Alien Queen in her lair. You'll need to destroy her egg sac, so focus that and try to avoid any projectiles that come your way. If any other enemies get too close, quickly dispose of them and then refocus the egg sac. You'll need to fight the tick alien again, except this time it'll shoot its facehugger orbs out at you. They're a lot easier to kill this time around. The orbs are slow moving, so just try to avoid them and focus the tick. And then finally, the last boss is against the Alien Queen on the Sulaco, just like from the final scene in the movie. You'll be tempted to get into the power loader, but don't make the same mistake I did and go for this first. You'll be a sitting duck and the queen will easily kill you. It's best to use your gun and weaken the queen first, and then once the airlock opens up, run into the power loader where you can then push her out into space, just like the iconic ending scene. This game was great, and it follows the movie so well. Sure, Konami made some enemies up for the game, but that doesn't take anything away from it. If anything, I think it really expands on the enemy variety and makes the game a lot more enjoyable. Now, can you play this game today? Unfortunately, unless you find an arcade cabinet of this game in the wild, you cannot play it without emulation. There's been a lot of Alien games over the years, so maybe it'll come out in some type of retro collection, but I would not hold my breath for that. And now, it's time to answer the question, how much did I spend to beat Aliens the arcade game? As per usual with this series, I play these games on an emulator, and I set up a counter to increase every time I hit the insert coin button. I play every game on its default settings, so for Aliens, that means 25 cents per credit on medium difficulty. It took me 31 minutes to beat the game, and when it was all said and done, I only spent $3.75. Now, I understand back in the 90s, a lot of these games were probably set to 50-cent plays, and if that's the case, then that would bring the total up to $7.50. Adjusted for inflation, and $3.75 would feel like $9.49 in today's money. If we're talking about the 50-cent plays, then $7.50 would feel like $18.99 in today's money. My cost per minute was only 12 cents per minute, making this one of my lowest cost per minute games to date. The boss battles is where most of my money was taken. I dropped 25 cents on the ball alien, 25 cents on the Contra boss, 50 cents on the Electro aliens, 25 cents on the alien queen in her lair, and 25 cents on the second tick-looking alien fight. In the final fight against the alien queen, I spent 75 cents, but I think this was mostly because I used the power loader for the entire fight, and if I used my gun to weaken the queen first, it probably would have been lower. Adding all of this up, and that brings my boss total to $2.25, which is over half of what I spent for the entire game. And now, it's time to bust out the Predatory game scale to determine just how predatory Aliens was in stealing your money. Aliens is an arcade game that is often overlooked when talking about classic arcade run-and guns and beat-em-ups. It's a game that really isn't in the conversation when looking at other Konami classics at the time, and I get it. It's really hard to follow up a game like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that's probably why it had such a hard time gaining popularity, but it really should be in these conversations. Konami did a fantastic job adopting this IP into an arcade game, and like I said, even though if they did take some creative liberties, it didn't take anything away from the game. The game also has a ton of variety, which keeps things fresh, so let's get into some of the metrics that I'm looking at when determining its predatory score. Total inflationary cost and cost per minute were some of the lowest we've seen thus far, and probably would have been even lower if playing with a second player. For the game cheating or input reading or unfair programming, I didn't really notice any of this when it came to Aliens. Sure, the game did get difficult at times, especially with some boss battles, but I never really felt like I was being cheated. Punitive game mechanics are really low. The only thing I can think of that might be a little bit picky is that your character does move a little slow, which is a little hard to dodge some boss attacks, but again, this is just a small grievance. For the one more try appeal, it's not overly addictive, but it is fun, and you can get pretty far on very little money, which would make you want to keep going with the game. And then overall enjoyment, is this the most fun in the arcade game? No. But it is a great time. It's got fantastic enemy variety, it's got variety in its weapons, in its level design, in its bosses, and it's something that would make you want to continue to play this game. It's a game that, at the end of the day, makes you really feel like you got your money's worth. So all of that factored into the Predatory games equation, and Aliens the arcade game received a Predatory game score of a 3 out of 10. Next time on Arcade Economy, I'll be back to play through Midway's 1991 rail shooter Terminator 2, so I hope to see you on that video. This channel has grown into such an amazing retro games community, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. For anyone who would like to get more involved, I do have YouTube memberships and Patreon programs. It's the single best way to support what we do here and get some cool perks in return, like early access to videos, all videos ad-free, and access to my Arcade Economy gameplay live streams. But honestly, just you watching this video right now is a massive help, and I'm extremely grateful for the community that's being built here, so thank you. As always, if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a great deal to me if you could give it a big thumbs up. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you see me on my next video.